I have heard more than once that the Catholic Church can never have women in the role of priests. What is the reason, and where does that decision stem from in the church doctrine? I've had several well-meaning people, Catholics included, that allude that the day is inevitable. Thanks. Okay, I think they're thinking that, they've heard a lot of people say it's inevitable that we're just one day, any day now, women will be allowed to be priests. Now, my understanding, St. Pope John Paul II, maybe you've heard this before, is usually referred to as making, I don't know if about an infallible statement in regards to women priests, but he made the statement that he, as the Pope at the time when he was Pope, he did not have the authority to make that change, that this is not a sort of discipline that the church has decided for a particular period of church history, but rather this is absolutely a part of the doctrine of the faith, that only baptized men can be ordained to the priesthood, to the sacrament of holy orders. And maybe I can pull up real quick, I don't know if I'll be able to get it on the screen, but so it's the apostolic letter Ordinatio Sacerdotales. I don't know if I'm saying that right in Latin, but you can search that. It's an apostolic letter by Pope St. John Paul II on reserving priestly ordination to men alone. And so it's a very short letter. You can look this up, but he actually references Paul VI. Let me see if I can find it. It says, when the question of the ordination of women arose in the Anglican Communion, Pope Paul VI, out of fidelity to his office of safeguarding the apostolic tradition, and also with a view to removing a new obstacle placed in the way of Christian unity, reminded Anglicans of the position of the Catholic Church. Quote, she holds that it is not admissible to ordain women to the priesthood for very fundamental reasons. These reasons include the example recorded in the sacred scriptures of Christ choosing his apostles only from among men, the constant practice of the church, which has imitated Christ in choosing only men, and her living teaching authority, which has consistently held that the exclusion of women from the priesthood is in accordance with God's plan for his church. Okay. So it goes on kind of to say that the declaration recalls and explains the fundamental reasons for this teaching, reasons expounded by Paul VI, as I just shared, and concludes that the church does not consider herself authorized to admit women to priestly ordination. Okay, and the letter goes on, and John Paul II gives some deeper theological reflection and reasons for why. But it seems that what's going on here is Paul VI, when Anglicans started to come into the church more commonly in the 20th century, Pope Paul VI sort of reminded the Anglicans that, because oftentimes in some parts of the Anglican Church, there are women who are ordained to the priesthood. And so it seems that he reminded the Anglicans who were converting to Catholicism what the position of the Catholic Church has always been. And that, as it says, is that it is not admissible to ordain women to the priesthood. And the reasons given were Christ in the sacred scriptures, choosing only apostles only to be men, the constant practice of the church, imitating Christ, and then also the teaching authority that has continued to repeat this teaching down through the ages. Now, the only thing I'll say, there's a lot in the letter, and again, if you just joined us, this is from Ordinatio Sacerdotales, and you can find this online on the Vatican's website, John Paul II's apostolic letter. Something that I know that he mentions in this letter, I think is really helpful for us struggling with the idea of women becoming priests and the church not saying it's permissible and that the church doesn't have the authority to change it. If we're struggling with that, think of this for a second. Mary, the Blessed Virgin Mary, is the greatest human, second to Christ, to have ever existed. She's upheld in the highest of dignities, right? Our Blessed Mother is honored higher, more greater than any of the 12 apostles, including St. Peter, and higher than any of the saints ever, right? She is the highest of saints. And so we have to ask ourselves, why didn't Jesus ordain her to be a priest? And John Paul II gets at this, that because becoming a priest does not change your dignity. It doesn't make you greater in dignity. And therefore, the fact that women are not able to be priests in the Catholic Church does not mean that they are less in dignity than men. Instead, what it tells us is there's something very specific to the priesthood that has to do with masculinity, that has to do with being a male. And there's, maybe we can think and reflect on this more deeply, but right, Christ Jesus was a male. And I think that there was a reason for him being a male and not being incarnated as a female. And I don't know if there's something that's totally doctrinally stated on this topic, if there's actually something that's been expressed in regards to like a full fleshing out of why I think this needs to be done. If it's not, and if there's a good book that someone's aware of, or some writings on this topic, maybe someone can share that in the chat and let me know. But yeah, we just need, I think, we need to pray with the fact that Our Lady was not ordained as a priest, and that Jesus chose to ordain 12 men, and one of those men even being the one that would betray him. So we don't need to become priests to be able to serve in the church and to be able to be instruments of God's grace and to have dignity, right? We all are equal in dignity, but not equal in role, and equal in ability, and equal in God's plan in the sense of what he wants us to do. So we have to trust in God, no matter how humble of a position he desires us to be in, men or women. So I'll go ahead and move on from that. Hopefully that was helpful.